it was certainly an aggressive move, but it wasn't like it wasn't I have to wreck this guy type of move, but who knows?
Oh no,
Maybe it was
no
pre.
bullshit, Kyle. He wrecked him intentionally.
No,
No,
no, I'm talking
Stenhouse's move.
about
Oh,
Stenhouse's move,
sorry. I
not
thought I
Kyle's
thought
move.
we were on
Yeah,
Kyle,
no,
but
I told Wesley on lap 2 when it happened live. I'm like, well, he just wrecked the fuck out of him. Hello and welcome back to another episode of your favorite couch potatoes, a special Redneck Boys edition. We are back after long await. I know it's been a while, but don't worry because we have some really good news. The Redneck Boys are back together again, baby. Let's go! Cheers to that, brother.
How's everybody doing?
oh, another day of
Yeah.
paradise.
Yes, sir. All right, shall we get into it, boys?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, let's start with some more big news. Stewart Haas Racing is Caputo done after this season. It will no longer be on NASCAR. Come to a surprise to us, or how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's a huge surprise or nothing. I mean, like, we were talking about this before. The pod, they haven't done much, since Stewart left, and then they had Harvick. That was pretty much it. So,
Yep.
I mean, they haven't done much in the last few years, and so they haven't had the money. They lost a big sponsor with Bush, and
Yep.
yeah,
Sorry, I'm all over the place.
not a huge surprise.
TJ, we been a while since you've been on. Are you
No,
trying to
I had
figure
to.
something out?
Yeah, I had to go. I had to go do something. I had to grab something.
Oh, good. Well, how do you feel about it, TJ? You gonna be sad not to see those Stewart Haas Fords out there, or is it just gonna be better for your Penske and RFK Fords?
Well, it's not better for Penske. It might be better for RFK, but doesn't surprise me. I didn't know they were out and about, but they have no drivers now. So
Yep. Well, some teams that it is good for is one, definitely Front Row Motorsports. They've already been announced. They've got a third charter, so they'll have a third car next year, upgrading from two. So I bet you these guys. I mean, I feel like Briscoe will still get a ride. Gregson will definitely get a ride. He's got Bass Pro Shops that is still backing him and everything. Then a couple more teams. 2311 might get a third car. And then I don't know how you feel about this, or Wesley. Probably a little excited. Trackhouse expected to get a third charter as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I hope they bring back the Project 91 car. I love that car.
Yeah.
That was a badass ride.
Do you think
Um,
SVG gets it?
I don't think so. Not yet.
No.
I mean, he has been, looking somewhat decent down in Xfinity, but I don't know if he's really deserved a ride in the Cup Series yet. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously he does race in the road courses, but I don't know if he's fully deserved a ride yet. So
Ready for
we'll see how
full
that goes.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, should be exciting to see him. It was a good run for Stuart Haas. They had two championships, and I think it was like 37-ish wins or something like that. Like they had success, but yeah, I mean even the last couple years with Harvick, he wasn't top tier, but he
Yeah.
still could win you a race or two, and that was pretty much it. So doesn't surprise me too much, but yeah, so that's kind of our news segment for this week. Let's move on to the All Star race that happened almost a couple weeks ago since we weren't able to talk to you guys. Yep, that would be right. Joey Logano. We'll just go ahead and tell you because there's not much to really say about the race because he led every single lap except for
Yeah.
one where I can't even remember who it was. Just, was barely ahead of him for one lap and then Logano passed him. TJ,
Yeah.
do you even take pride in watching or winning such a shitty race?
No, no, not really. It's just the only race that we won. So I'll take
Yep.
it for Penske, but
In
I
a
mean,
race that
fucking
didn't mean
hell.
shit.
You know,
no, I know it doesn't mean anything, but
I remember us saying that
20,
about
22's
Blaney's
in my
race.
heart.
Remember that? Yep.
No, yeah, Blaney won it last year, but he ended up winning the championship, so
Yep.
it's fine.
Yep.
Well,
He might
give
win
Well,
me
he
the
won
more.
it two
championship
years
race.
ago. Yeah. Oh God damn!
No, we're
We'll
not
never
gonna bring
not
up
hear that.
Chastain winning the race,
I get, but yeah, I mean, I think Wesley, I was like listening back to our last podcast when we were talking about it, and we were talking about how Larson did basically what Logano did, but Logano was a
Yep.
little more dominant. But that's literally what we said. Like Larson pretty much ran or led the whole race and just fucking dominated, and it was a boring ass race, and it was exactly what I think it was even worse than we expected,
No,
honestly.
well, I mean, I thought it was because I mean Larson when he dominated the race, it was like 6, 7 second gaps between the rest of the
Hmm.
field.
well, that was
Logano, I don't think Logano had a gap like that.
Maybe
Maybe
3 or 4
once
or
or
something.
yeah,
Three or
yeah,
four
but
seconds.
didn't dominate it quite like Larson did. But I
Yeah.
mean, that just goes to show you what kind of driver Larson is, though. So
well, wasn't
I
what were you
mean,
saying?
the
leading 199 out of 200 laps is pretty dominant, I guess. But all you got to do is
Yeah, but
have
I
that track
mean,
position.
that's true. That's true.
You know what? Sorry, TJ, did you have anything to say? I know it's your driver, so we should be giving you the floor.
well, no, Logano pulled this out of his ass. I don't know where it came from at all, but I think with the
Yeah.
Larson race was that last year, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Larson's
And
race
Yeah.
was
then
last year.
Blaney came and won it.
No, Blaney, you're thinking of Blaney was actually 2 years ago because that was still at Charlotte when
Yeah,
they had the All Star race at Charlotte. And I think that was the only race he won that year. And
Yeah.
that's what we were
okay,
giving
yeah,
him shit about
okay, yeah,
was that's what it was, yeah. And that's what
yeah,
me us were talking about last week was me especially. I wish it was just still at Charlotte. Like I think that's a much better track, which we'll get into a little bit later with the Coke 600. But I
yeah,
just I get North Wilkesboro has the history, and you're kind of playing that angle, but like let's have some exciting racing, like because nothing was really exciting. I did think that those tires that they introduced, we were talking about the more grip but faster wear tires. Like,
yeah,
oh, that's
yeah.
going to make a difference. Like you're going to have to work with those or whatever. But what the
I
top like six or something stayed on those red tires,
yeah,
had the faster wear, but and it didn't matter for shit.
yeah. It was the red and green tires, but they didn't really.
There
The
was
pit
no
crews
difference.
got
Not we could
the
see.
the pit crews got mixed up on what to put where on the All Star race, so it kind of was just it was a crapshoot every time they pitted,
Yeah.
and I was glad that Logano stayed out because he stayed out the last of the race, and it worked really well. But a lot of
It's
the
called
teams they got
talking
mixed
about the
up
faster
with
wear tires.
the tires. So we were having the red tires
Yeah.
in the front, green tires in the back, and they were just flip flopping them every time. And I think that really fucked a lot of people up.
I honestly don't think that they're like it mattered, like because I know like Lagon because they showed it on the ticker. Like I think like the top five pretty much all day. There was one guy on yellow tires that got into the top five, but like they all had the red tires that were supposed to wear out faster. But we never saw any
Yeah.
passing really. You never saw
Well,
anybody
wasn't
get up
that
there.
that was the rule, right? I mean, they had to switch the tires at least once. So like
But
everybody started on the red tires, and then the first caution, like everybody except for the top five, pitted and changed the yellow, and then
yeah,
after that, and then the next caution that rolled around, everybody saw how good those top 5 cars did on the red tires, and
And just
everybody
took
switched
those.
back to the red tires, and they just ran red tires for the rest of the race, and there was no more wear, better grip, type of. There wasn't that type of
Well,
scenario. I feel.
Yeah,
yeah,
never
they
popped up.
had they had 3 sets of tires. They had the red and green, and then they had the all weather tires
Oh yeah, in case they
going
needed
into it.
them or whatever.
Yeah, just in case. And so they were trying to figure out what was going good and what wasn't going good. But Logano's team figured out the best way, and they nailed it 100%.
Well, it's
Yeah,
easy when
I
you
mean
win the
it.
pole and
I was gonna say, I think
you can
that's all you
stay in
had to
front the
do was
whole time.
win the pole and you win the All-Star race. Must be
Clean air,
nice.
clean tires. It's fine.
Oh man. Well, all I have to say about that race is thank God for number 8 because he's the only thing that was interesting about that race, and him and number 47, Kyle Busch. I remember even telling you, TJ, or sorry, Wes, like it just straight up looked like Kyle dumped him on lap 2. Kyle has since come out and said that he ran him up the track. I didn't see many angles, but from the angles I saw, like it looked like he had plenty of room, and just Kyle Busch decides to just run right through him, pit maneuver him, dump his ass.
Yeah, Stenhouse. When we go back to that replay, Stenhouse didn't bump Kyle Busch into the wall. Kyle Busch went into the wall, and then Kyle Busch felt like he did, and then decided to run him into the fucking wall. Pit maneuvered him, and yeah,
It was. I mean, it was certainly an aggressive move, but it wasn't like I don't. It wasn't a. I have to wreck this guy type of move. But who knows?
oh no,
Maybe it was
no
pre.
bullshit, Kyle. He wrecked him intentionally.
No,
No,
no. I'm
Stenhouse's
talking
move.
about
Oh,
Stenhouse's move,
sorry. I
not
thought I
Kyle's
thought
move.
we were on
Yeah,
Kyle
no.
Busch's
I
side.
told I told Wesley on lap 2 when it happened live. I'm like, well, he just wrecked the fuck out of him. But no, Stenhouse forced it 3 wide on a 2 wide track. But and I could see where he gets a little bit forced up, but you can let off and get back in the groove. I mean, you're back in
Well, I mean,
15th. It's not like you're racing for second or first or anything.
yeah. Well, I mean, we always talk about with these next gen cars about how hard it is to pass, right? And so Stenhouse had a huge run coming out of that turn, or coming
Yeah,
down into the turn, and when you have that big of a run on the rest of the field, I mean, you almost feel like you have to take it 100% of the time. And so
right.
I think that's what Stenhouse did and forced it 3 wide. I mean, I didn't really see him push Kyle. I mean, Kyle and the other car had a massive gap in between them, and that's why Stenhouse took the shot.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it really
the
forced Kyle
draft
Busch out at
I
all.
think the draft pushed him a little bit. He took the airflow out of him, and then Kyle went up in the wall. But we had seen I don't know how many, probably 10, 12 cars go up into that wall. And then when we went to the in drive cam, it wasn't. Kyle Busch didn't push him out, and then Kyle Busch just decided to take him out. So
I don't really get it because like I can see Kyle giving him a little nudge or something like, hey, what, that was
a bump
bullshit move or
would
whatever.
be good.
Yeah, right. But he just decided to just not let up. But I think that NASCAR and pretty much
Oh,
all his
don't bring
fans can just
NASCAR
be
into
happy
this.
that Kyle did it. I will because they promoted the fuck out of the fight. Like, let's not pretend they didn't.
But then
Oh
they
And
no,
sit there and
I
discourage
agree
it
with you.
yeah,
for the
so
drivers.
let's get into that because I didn't even say. So, Ricky Stenhouse sticks around, and because he has to. We later found out he talked about it in an interview, but there's no tunnel going out of that track because it's so fucking old. So he had to sit there until the race was over before he could leave. He said he would have just left if he could have. Um, but yeah, he's in his little they look like swim trunks and t-shirt. He's shit showered and shaved, and he's just sitting there waiting for Kyle and provided
don't
us with
defend
plenty of
Kyle Busch
memes.
on
And
this, okay? Kyle Busch
I'm not.
put him into the wall.
I just think it was funny just to see like the difference. Like, Kyle's just coming out of the car, sweaty, dirty, like all the drivers are, and Stenhouse is all cleaned up because he's been sitting there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or whatever. It was lap 2, yeah. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying, like, that's what happened. And then
he punched his own dad multiple times.
Well, it was hilarious because Ricky's all, they're just sitting there. It's not even like the Gragson and Chastain fight where, Gragson's up and grabbing Chastain. They're just like talking, hey, man, that was fucked up. That was stupid. And Kyle's like, yeah, nothing. And then boom, knocks Kyle. And then all the crew members come in and Kyle's falling to the ground and then just trying to punch whoever he can. Gets Ricky Stenhouse Sr. a couple of good licks, and they're yelling at each other. And then did you see that crew member from Kyle Busch, his team?
Yeah.
See that big jack dude just throwing everybody off? Yeah.
Throwing everybody off the ramp of the truck.
If you want to talk about that fight because, they don't let him fight anymore, I will say Ricky won because he got the one good punch in the fight. Got a good sucker punch.
Yeah.
Just like Ross Chastain fighting Noah Gragson. Ross Chastain got the punch in, and so.
Yeah.
No, that was more of a hockey fight with Noah Gragson and Ross Chastain. They were trying to pull each other's jerseys over.
But
no.
At least, like I feel like Chastain definitely had a reason to punch in his scenario. And
dude, it wasn't even Kyle Busch took him out on purpose because
I get that. So just walk up and punch the dude. Just walk up and punch the dude. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't act all buddy and then.
Yeah, if you're mad, go punch him. That's what like.
Don't
I remember
act all
the clip with
and then swing.
Yeah, I remember a clip of Clint Boyer back in like 2012 or something. He was pissed at Jeff Gordon. Dude gets out of his car, sprints to the haulers, and just tries to wail on him. Like he doesn't sit there.
It's like
hey man, I think
like
you were.
Busch fight.
I think that was kind of a dumb boom.
It's like the Logano.
Yeah, Kyle walked right the fuck over and punched him.
Yeah, they started going at it. Then that was a great. I was there on that little pit fight.
I'm glad you liked your boy getting his ass kicked. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Kyle Busch got sucker punched, so it's okay. And then he punched his own.
He did come up with the blood in his.
It's finally come full center.
No,
but did you guys hear him talking? Because they were like talking about, like he's like, "I'll see you at Charlotte" or something, and Kyle Busch is like, "I don't care. I suck just as bad as you do." Did you guys hear that little clip?
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
He yells that after like the fight's kind of over. He's like on the hauler, and he said that, and I was like, "Well, that doesn't make me feel good."
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it already, but now you said it.
Too much. Our drivers are just too old now that they don't even want to even fucking bother with it.
But yeah, so that was definitely the only exciting thing about that race was the fight. I remember seeing all the memes like where Joey Logano has one tiny little microphone because he won the race, but then all like the 50,000 microphones are right here on Ricky Stenhouse or Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I know. It was. He's trying to do his whole thing, and then Kyle Busch has to start shit like normal.
Kyle Busch,
it's fine.
Well, let's finish it out with like we said. So Ricky Stenhouse got the biggest fine ever, a $75,000 in NASCAR history, $75,000 fine. Fair, foul? What do you guys think?
Bullshit.
It's bullshit. Yeah, it's Kyle Busch should get something.
Well, I don't think either driver should get anything, and I think Wesley, I know what I'll let you get into it
I just feel like NASCAR wants to promote the fuck out of the fight and make it seem like that's what NASCAR is, but then they turn around and give the biggest fine ever to Ricky Stenhouse for the one punch. You know what I mean? Like, what about why didn't if you're talking about one punch, then why didn't Ross Chastain get a $75,000 fine for his one
Right?
punch?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's what I'm saying.
Well,
NASCAR's just taking it. NASCAR's taking it, promoting it, making NASCAR bigger with the fights, and then they turn around and find the shit out of their drivers and discipline their drivers for it, and I think it's stupid for NASCAR on how they take these fights and brawls and stuff like that and
because
turn it into
even
this.
like all the announcers after that fight were like, yeah, we did that shit all the time, and
Yep.
nobody got fined on it. And even with the Chastain and Gregson fights, nobody got fined. Nobody got like nothing. But as soon as Kyle Busch gets in it, it's
He got
I
the
don't
biggest.
see how it's a Kyle Busch thing, but
Ricky Stenhouse
well,
got the biggest fine in history because he punched Kyle Busch.
yeah, he
Exactly.
damaged that pretty face of Kyle Busch. NASCAR can't let that
Yeah,
happen.
He
you fucking
doesn't have
damaged
a
that
pretty
rat mole
face.
face.
He
I
looks
swear.
he looks like a goddamn mole rat.
Yeah.
No, I
And he
100%
punched his
agree.
own
I think if
dad
you're
because his dad got
no,
intervened.
Kyle punched his dad,
I'll punch
because
Ricky
he's
Yeah.
Stenhouse Jr. or Senior.
senior. Yeah,
Well,
he got some punches in,
but
so I'll give him that.
he doesn't get a fine, but Ricky Stenhouse gets a fine.
Well, that's what. Yeah, I don't get, because I don't think Kyle really. I don't see Kyle getting like fined for the fight. I would think that he would get fined for the wreck, like, because
Yeah.
it was very clear that he intentionally wrecked him, and I think he even admitted that. So I was a little surprised that Kyle didn't get anything. But I don't think either driver should. I'm sick of the fighting because, or the fines for fighting, because that's what keeps NASCAR. Like, that's what gets other people interested in NASCAR. I remember when it happened with Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson, all over ESPN, all over
Yeah.
Bleacher Report. Ross Chastain gets on the Pat McAfee show right after, like the
Yeah.
day after, like, and that's
Yep.
what
Yeah.
that's what people like to see in NASCAR. I have friends that were posting about the fight when they don't watch NASCAR, at all. So, like, promote it,
It's
use it. Like,
it's
I understand you got
interesting.
to keep some regulation. Like, you can't just be like, all right, like, let's have a full on, boxing match. But it's not like that's going to happen anyways. All the pit
Use it,
crews
but
are
don't.
around, you
I mean,
know.
don't discipline the way they do. You don't have to discipline with a $75,000 fine and then turn around and go promote it to everybody in the world. Like, that's that's just
Yeah.
backwards. You know what I
So
mean?
you're
No,
making all
no,
this
I
money
agree with
off
that.
of promoting it, and then you're like, we want a little bit more. Let's go get 75K from Ricky Stenhouse,
Yeah.
and
But
then we'll call it
I
good.
remember,
Yeah.
I
Right.
remember, I remember all the fights that like Keselowski had, Logano had, Bush
Mhm.
had. They never got
Gordon,
fined. They never got fined.
classics. I mean, Cale
They never.
They show the freaking clip of, who was it? Cale Yarbrough and Donnie Allison at like 19,
Yeah,
I want to say 77 Daytona 500, where they wrecked out of it, and that was
yeah,
that's on like the NASCAR everything. Like, when you think of NASCAR or
yeah,
whatever, on their videos and stuff. So let
yeah.
them, let them
I,
fight with regulation. Don't just be like, don't just turn it into like, I don't know,
it's
like
a fine
hockey, but
situation
it's not
every
like you
time.
can even be like hockey. Like, it's not like the
No,
drivers want to sit there and fight every week. Like, I hear them talk about it. Like, we respect most people in the garage. We understand it's a business. We're all trying to make our money. Nobody
but
wants a wrecked car because that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? So, but when the emotions come out, let the emotions come out, because that's what makes it
yeah,
exciting.
that's what I look forward to after the race is
Right?
the fights in pit road. It's
Yep.
I've been there live when it happens, and it's a lot of fun.
I remember even watching Darlington, and I think I talked to Wesley about this when, because Reddick kind of wrecked Boucher out of there, and Busher came over and was all pissed, and I was kind of sad, because Reddick was just like, "Yep, I'm sorry, that was all my fault," instead of like an actual fight happening. But yeah.
Yeah.
And then to finish off the suspension, I don't know if you guys heard the other stuff, but his father actually did get suspended indefinitely, so not allowed at the track for however long. And then he got two crew members. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't like his crew chief or anything, but it was two crew members. One got a 4-race suspension. One got an 8-race suspension. So I'd
On
assume
Kyle
just whoever
Busch's
was
side?
kind of no, just Ricky Stenhouse.
Well,
That
because
was
they
it.
went and started the fucking fight.
But I mean, hey, it provided us with plenty of memes. I know. I think my favorite one was Kyle Busch's fight. He's getting like he's in a chokehold, and his teeth are all out, and he's like this or whatever, and it's like me when I was 6 years old when my mom told me to smile for a picture or something like that. And he's just like all
Yeah,
pissed off and his teeth are out
it
or
was
something. But
it was very interesting. That one was. I mean, luckily I didn't have any of Penske drivers in it, so
well, just like on this podcast and the race, about the same amount of percentage of time, about 95% of that attention was on that Kyle Busch fight, just like the race. And but yeah, don't forget Joey Logano. He won that race. Don't forget it. It's the only race he'll probably win. Let's move on to the Coke 600. So we had an exciting race, exciting half of a race maybe, but some good battles. Like I said, that's where I wish they still had the All-Star race and, just have that couple of week stretch at the same track because I thought it was a fun race. And, Byron ends up taking stage one, of course. Another Byron win, but then we get into stage two, and not a surprise. That good old, what's that, number 12 Penske Ford, TJ, I know you're a little fond of. Did what he always does.
I'm not fond of it. It's my wife.
Oh, yeah. You're fond of it through, what do you call it, through marriage or whatever.
Yeah, it's Ryan Blaney. He's
Yep.
very attractive, apparently. So
Yeah, I mean,
wait, what's my opinion on it? Sorry, I totally spaced.
No, you're totally fine. I was just saying, he did what he always does, didn't he, Wesley?
yeah.
Yeah, he wrecks a lot. Okay, I get it. I understand this.
So
What
Ryan
happened
Blaney,
this time?
he wrecked out in turn 4, lap 147. It just kind of seemed like coming out of turn 4, he kind of lost his tires and slid up the racetrack and hit the wall. Kind of looked like he might have broken a toe link or something. They pulled him down into the pits, and they tried working on it. They tried rolling the car to try to see if that toe link would, come back in to place after they had looked at it. And after that, just he was done for.
Damn. Good old Blaney. There goes Blaney, doing what he always does.
Doesn't surprise me.
Did you have to run away for that segment and cry there, TJ? We can't see you.
So we're looking at the next most exciting thing that happened came about 20 laps later. Noah Gragson wrecked in turn 2, which it kind of seemed like a lot of the more...
Gregson, not Gragskin.
Shut the fuck up, TJ.
Gregson.
I call him Noah Gragson.
Look at how his name's spelled, dipshit.
It's Noah
English
Gregson.
language.
Just had how Mike.
Oh, now I hear that he said it. Don't get me started on Mike Joy. We've talked enough about Mike Joy on this podcast.
You're the next Mike Joy. It's okay.
God. Take that back, or we're going to have to disband the Redneck Boys, I swear.
Never.
Anyways.
Noah Gragson wrecks out. He's coming out of turn 2, lap 167. I couldn't tell exactly what happened. Thanks, Fox. To what exactly what happened to Gragson, but it seemed like he either got bumped. It seemed like he either got bumped or, his tires let out on him, whatever. But he slid down the backstretch and then slid right into that inside wall, and that car was that was toast. It was
Total.
pretty bad.
Damn.
Damn. Yeah, and then we move up in the race to Josh Berry actually came up and bumped William Byron. And so when he bumped him on the back left quarter panel, and it kind of pushed him up and into the outside wall, which obviously kind of put Byron back a little bit, kind of took him out of the race for the most part. And then we go to Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton, this is what I was saying earlier, the turn 2, it was just collecting everybody. His tires gave out on him in turn 2, and he slid down the backstretch as well.
So are they just kind of getting loose in that out of turn 2, or
that's what it seemed like. It seemed like they were just getting loose. Their tires, I don't know if it was it was just the wear and tear of the tires, or if the track was just slick in turn 2. I couldn't tell, but that's kind of what it seemed like was happening. Everybody was getting collected in turn 2. So, but with that, Christopher Bell won stage 2. So
good for him.
Way to end off that stage. And then coming into the shortened stage 3, we have Corey LaJoie starts us off with the first caution flag. His tires gave out on him in turn 2 as well.
Jeez. Well, you know what's funny too is that
it seems like everybody's coming out in turn 2 and sliding out from under him.
Right, and those drivers, I feel like the last 2 you mentioned especially, Harrison Burton and Corey LaJoie. I feel bad for them because they're not on, like top teams, but they seem to wreck out like every other race or something. Something like that happens where they just lose it, and we see the 21, we see the 7 just wrecking out.
Yep. To move in further into stage 3, beer crack, by the way.
Love it.
We have lap 240. Probably the most exciting pass in this race. It was really cool to see, really cool to watch. It was a good move by William Byron. What happened is he makes a crazy pass in the front stretch in the grass in the infield. And Tyler Reddick and Gibbs were fighting for the lead, and Reddick came out of turn 4, bumped Gibbs up towards the wall, and that gave the opening for Byron to come underneath. Reddick actually tried to block Byron, which obviously almost wrecked Reddick at the same time. But yeah, it was a really cool pass to watch. I mean, using the infield grass to get a pass, it's for the lead too, and that's insane.
Well, I think it was actually for second place because I think Bell was still out front.
Was it second place?
I think it was, yeah. Bell, because I think Bell stuck out in front in stage 2. And yeah, it was, but it was pretty close. I think it was pretty close after like the caution break or whatever. But yeah, it was really cool. It gave me like Dale Earnhardt Sr. vibes, where he'd go through the infield and whatnot. And like you said, you talked about earlier, when you get that run, you can't give it up. And so for Byron Byron did it in a really cool way where he didn't have to wreck anybody, and he just, made a sick ass pass, took it 3 wide because he had that huge run. Like he might have passed him even if they didn't bump into each other. He had such a great run, so that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. TJ, what do you think?
He was jamming out the whole time, huh?
Oh yeah, no, I was just listening.
Okay, sounds good, TJ.
I have, so my phone's plugged in and I have 1%, so I don't know if it's gonna make it. So I'm just
okay.
I'm just
all right. Well, TJ, just in case, we'll give you 30 seconds here. Give us all your NASCAR thoughts. Who you looking for going into Gateway, and what do you think?
I'm thinking
liking your RFK Ford still. Yeah, wow. Who would have thunk it?
Well,
okay.
Well,
we'll keep you on as long as.
You got to look at the RFK stats right now. Keselowski
Oh, I have
is.
the stats. I'll pull them up. I'll pull them up.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
this
no, no,
we're
no. I
we
know
have
that, but
journalism here. We have our integrity. Wesley can admit to it. I may want to
RFK.
puke while I say it, but I say it.
I don't know what RFK is doing this year, but it is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, they need to
What's the track?
tell it
What?
RCR to. They need to give RCR their secrets. That's what they need to
No,
do.
no. They can. Kyle Busch can fuck off. I don't fucking care. I'm more of a Chastain fan than a Kyle Busch fan, and
Well,
he
that
hasn't
makes
done
sense.
shit this year. So,
I don't know if that's more disrespectful or if I should appreciate it.
it's like Team Penske this year, dude.
I
It's
appreciate it because I love the hate. As a Kyle Busch fan, even when you're 5 years old, man, you don't get any sort of like forgiveness, leeway. NASCAR fans will chew you up and eat you out if you're a Kyle Busch fan, even at the age of 5. So I've been
he
used to
he
it my whole life.
he doesn't have the fancy M&M car no more. He's somewhere else, but
Sure he
he's
does. It's
getting
right
there.
there, okay? It's right
He's getting
there.
there. He's like it's like Logano and Blaney. He's right there. It's getting there. No,
Getting close. Well,
I'm going with RFK this year. No disrespect to Penske or anything, but they suck this year.
seems like kind of fair weather fan to me, wearing that Penske hat, cheering for RFK. But
No,
see, I'll wear this shit. I'll wear this shit no matter how bad he is.
well, God damn.
Well, let's finish out this race because I know it wasn't too long after
I'm
this,
gonna go
Wes,
with
that we had
RFK
some.
this race.
Okay, we had some exciting
Cause
news happen after that pass that we were talking about earlier.
Busher and Keselowski know what the fuck they're doing this year. So
Okay.
I hate to go against Penske, but I they're just not this good. They're not as good this year. So
They have not shown the strength. That is true.
like compared to this year and last year, yeah, no, Penske's not. So
All right. Well, we'll keep you on as long as we can have you, TJ. Hopefully, it'll stick out. I mean, you've been
I'm
on for a few minutes with 1%, so.
I'm it's my phone's plugged in. That's the problem.
Okay. Well, Wesley, give us the last update of the Coke 600 because it comes very quickly after that pass.
Yeah, so after that, nothing too exciting happens after the pass with William Byron. And then Christopher Bell, obviously we just talked about that. He had the lead coming into the rain delay that happened on lap 250. And so, I thought we lost
Oh!
No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
You're correct. Yeah, so there was a little bit of controversy with this race and how it ended. Some fans and analysts criticizing NASCAR for not winning or not waiting longer and finishing the race, saying it did not matter how late the race went.
Yeah.
We were talking about it before the pod. It sounded like they had a chance to start the race back up around 3 a.m. or finish by 3 a.m.
Finish around 3, yep.
Yeah. Which, I mean, is it really that controversial? You're going to make the drivers go back out that late to try to finish a race? You know what I mean?
Well, you know, I had heard, it was funny, Christopher Bell was asleep when he was awarded the win.
Oh,
He
really?
was asleep in his holler, yeah. And he found out
I
through,
mean,
like, some dude waking him up, like, and saw it on the TV or whatever.
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I
I
just
would
think,
want to see them. Sorry, go ahead, Wes.
I mean, I just feel like, it's kind of bullshit to put that on NASCAR because obviously it's not safe for the drivers to go back out onto the track that late. They're obviously all tired. They just ran 250 laps, and then they get out of their car. You know, your body atrophies after that. You're
Yep.
not prepared to just hop back into a car at 2 o'clock in the morning to run a race. Like
To
that's
finish
just
it,
insane.
especially the longest race of the year. So it's not like they're going out there for 50 more laps. They got almost what 40%, 35% of the race left. So
Yeah,
I get that, and I think you caught. It's just that it's hard, and it's not an easy job to call it or whatever, decide when the races should be called or whatever. Because I remember watching, like, I was just chilling watching the like interviews and stuff in the background, and like Christopher Bell was on, and he's like, "Yeah, I actually heard like sounds like we're gonna get going here real soon," and obviously they never got back going, so. I don't think you can get too much on NASCAR for it, but at the same time, like, figure I don't know what we can do because obviously you're always going to want to finish the race if you can. Oh,
yeah.
TJ's back on.
Is he back?
Oh,
Maybe.
maybe. Anyways, hey, we made it. All right, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of tough. One more thing to note, I did want to talk about on that race though, is that good old Kyle Larson, because he was attempting to do the double this year and do the Indy 500 and the Coke 600, and of course Mother Nature just tried to go and fuck both of those races up, and she sure did, because the Indy 500 it got like a 4 hour delay or something,
Yeah.
um, and so then the decision was made that Kyle Larson would stay and finish the race if he could in the Indy 500. And so Justin Allgaier ends up stepping into that five ride and running that race as Kyle Larson's, flying there and everything. And Kyle Larson gets touchdown. He's sprinting. He gets his Hans device all ready and helmet set up. And that was about lap 250. And he never got to get in the car. So
Yeah.
that's got to be so annoying because I know, like, as a Kyle Busch fan, I know he's been wanting to do it for a while, do that double,
Yeah.
and how special it is. Like, I think Kurt Busch, actually, his brother, was the last one to attempt it, and then Tony Stewart is the last one to actually do it, and that was like a
Hmm.
while ago. It was like in the early 2000s, I think. So it's a big accomplishment. And to get it screwed out by the rain, that's gotta hurt, man. Because it's not even
Yeah.
two. It's not like he's just racing. Like there's so much sponsorship, practice. I mean, we saw with the All Star race, Kevin Harvick had to do his practice laps and stuff. Like there is so much shit that goes into that. That's got to be a heartbreaker to not be able to not even like get in his car, but to be able to not. He didn't even get to race. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. No, I mean, he had a chance to pull something off that's, it's a huge feat in racing, and I mean, it just sucks that the rain had to hit on that weekend. I mean,
Right.
I would be extremely disappointed after trying to put the work in for both races. I mean, both races
Yep.
take a lot of practice, and like you said, it takes a lot of time and effort to get these rides ready and the drivers ready, and every week in, week out. And I mean, he had a chance to pull something off that was great, and just sucks it got put out by the rain.
Right. It sure does, and he could have done just like we've talked about how talented he is. Like he was showing some strength in the Indy 500 from what I saw. I saw clips and stuff and listened to some like recaps and whatnot. And then Allgaier was doing pretty good in that five car. He was in the top 15, and if Kyle Larson is 150 laps from 13th or 12th place, he can do some magic. So like, if the Indy 500 went a little more his way, and then he ends up winning that, like he very well probably could have won the Coke 600. No, that would have been awesome. So good to
Yeah.
see, like him try, but terrible to see him just get so screwed by Mother Nature. It's what she does, especially with NASCAR, it seems. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into our power rankings. It's been a minute, obviously, since we've seen you guys. So we'll go through NASCAR's power rankings first. And coming in at number 20, sliding down 3 spots, is Noah Gragson. Um, like you said, he wrecked out of this race. And I can't remember, trying to think back to Darlington, because I wouldn't count the All Star race into the power rankings. Like, it's a different thing, it's a different animal already. So, kind of like forget about that. But I think
Sure,
he's
NASCAR
still
does.
been, yeah, right. I think he's still been doing good. I would think a little bit low for him, but what are you thinking about that 20 spot for Noah Gragson?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Gregson, I mean, he's been in that 20 to 17 range. I feel pretty much all year.
Yeah,
At least he's cracking the top 20. At least they're giving him a little bit of love there. Um, yeah, so I mean, coming into this week, his odds are 60 to 1. So not terrible odds, but getting there.
not great for sure, but yeah, hopefully he could do something, get back up the power rankings. I like Noah Gragson. I've been a big fan of him, and I've always think that NASCAR's been a little hard on him as far as that. I'm not, yeah, he's not like a top 15 driver yet, but I think he's better than some of the other guys they got there. But let's move
Yeah.
on up to number 16, which is, unfortunately, we might have lost him, but TJ's boy, Joey Logano. He goes up one spot. Obviously, he wins the All Star race, but it's been 6 straight points races without a top 10 for him. So not a great April and May for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I mean, Logano's been sitting in that spot, 14, 15, 16. I mean, I just feel like that's what he's done pretty
Yeah,
much all year. So, I
about where
mean,
he belongs.
that's about where he belongs. Coming into this race this week, his odds are 14 to 1. So they're pretty high. They're pretty high in
That's
this
pretty
race.
good.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
they're riding his All Star race. I think that's what they're kind of contributing
might
into
be
his
doing.
odds. I feel like.
Well, and I know he did win the not well, not I don't think it was the inaugural race at Gateway, but it was the first one in 40, 50 years or something. He won it 2 years ago, so maybe looking at that too is a little bit of a good track for him. So we'll have to
Yeah.
see there. I know might not factor into my odds as far as who I pick later on, but we'll have to see. Let's move on. One spot, only one spot above, and this might be the thing I'm most, I guess, upset about. Chris Buescher drops down 5 spots to number 15. I know that he hasn't had the greatest finishes as of late, but like if we go back to it, just 2 points races ago, he looked at like the strongest car at Darlington, and the week before that, he was a thousandth of a second away from winning Kansas. So if I'm looking at it, I don't think he deserves a 5 spot drop down to 15.
No, and I mean, I just there's a few drivers ahead of him. We won't say names quite yet, but there's a few drivers ahead of him that I definitely feel like he's raced better than in
Yep.
this last, especially this last month. I, I just it's crazy to me that they're dropping him 5 spots. Like we've said, every time we talk about NASCAR's power rankings, it's always they look like they do the rankings off of the last week's race. It's kind of like week by week type of rankings.
Yep.
Whereas you and I, we like to do our rankings based off of the season and how they've
Right.
ran the season and how strong and dominant and how their cars rides have looked and stuff like that. That's kind of it's not a week to week thing for us, and that's just I mean
Because
dropping
that's
in
not what
five
power
spots.
rankings should be, right? It's not a week to
Yeah, I
week. We're
mean
not basing off the week. Power rankings are for the season.
every other sport that I've ever watched usually does their power rankings based off of how well you've done in the season,
Yep.
not that week.
And obviously, like the week has something. So, if your Steelers happen to lose one week, they might drop a spot or two. But if the Carolina Panthers win that week, you're not going to put the Carolina Panthers above the Steelers. You know what I mean? Like it's that, and that's where we have some of this, like in NASCAR, I feel like.
Right, right. Um, but anyways, I'll complain about NASCAR's odds every week or their power ranking, but Chris Buescher's odds to win this week are 18 to 1. So I mean, he's got pretty good odds this week. Not quite as good as Logano though, which
Not up there, yep.
which is weird to me. I just feel like Chris Buescher and can't remember, is it Keselowski? I feel like
Keselowski.
Buescher and Keselowski have just had really strong rides all season, and I feel like way better rides than Joey Logano. I can tell you that.
Well, yeah, that's definitely true. I think maybe what might factor in is, and I'm trying to think of Penske at short tracks, and I'm not coming up with some good performances. And I don't think Gateway, you can't consider it a short track, but I think it's only a mile long, so it almost behaves like a short track, and I think that's might come into it because I think Bush and Keselowski haven't been as strong on those kind of races this year. It's almost similar to like New Hampshire. I know it's very flat and yeah, mile long, so
Yeah.
it's definitely not indicative of how their season's gone, but it's still 18 to 1. That's not terrible odds. But let's go ahead and let's move on one more spot up to your boy Kyle Busch. Sits at 14 for the second week in a row, which I think is a fair spot for him. Like I think that like you could say he's the 14th best driver this season, but I will even admit, too bad TJ's not here to hear it because I know he would love it. He's not better than Chris Buescher this season. There's no
No,
way he's
God
better
no.
than Chris Buescher this season.
God
I
no.
mean, Chris Buescher has been up there for wins, and Kyle Busch has pretty much only been up there, for like the super speedways and not even Talladega. Like I think it was Daytona, he was kind of up there, and then Atlanta. Obviously, he was part of that photo finish, the three wide photo finish. But Buscher's been dominant at multiple tracks. Kyle hasn't quite been there. Like I said, fair spot at 14, but when you got Chris Buescher behind him, that's not fair.
Right, and that's what I mean. Kyle Busch is one of the drivers that I was talking about with being. I feel like Chris Buescher is ahead of him 110%. He's
Yeah,
had a better ride all season long. And like you said, Kyle Busch has had, maybe two or three races where he might be up there trying to compete for a win. But other than that, really all I see him doing is competing for top tens in stages one and two in most races. Once stage three comes, he usually drops off the face of the earth, and you
hey,
know, and
wow. I think that was a little personal. Come on now.
but it's true, man. It's true. I
Yeah,
mean, he just
he just hasn't
disappears. Like,
finished. Yeah,
yeah, he comes up in the top 10. He competes for top 10 finishes in stage one and two, and then once stage three comes around, he just kind of falls off. And I think that's just an attest to the ride that he has, and the money in that program, and But I mean, he's got better
they got
odds
to get
this
it
week than
turned it
Busher.
around. He
He's
does.
got better odds this week than Busher. He's sitting at 15 to 1 for this race.
Ooh, okay. All right, and I think part of his odds, and I'll talk about it because I think I'm going to have to let myself get excited about this. It has been on Sunday. It'll be a year since Kyle Busch has won a race. It's kind of wild. So he's the past winner at Gateway, and he ended up dominating that race. He won the pole, led the most laps, and the only one that really challenged him was Ryan Blaney, and that was his third win of the year by this point last year. He won Fontana, which is no longer a track. Then he won Talladega, and then Gateway, and then that was his last win of the year too. So that's what gets me a little worried too, because he had a really strong first half of the season last year, and then since then, continuing into this year, it just feels like downhill, downhill. So it feels like a
Yeah,
really big race for him. I'm hoping it's still a good track. I'm hoping he can qualify well and make some magic happen. So I like 15 to 1. It's not like it's top, but it's probably top 10 odds. So I'll definitely take it.
yeah, yeah. No, fair spot, fair spot. So,
Well, let's move on. One more spot to Bubba Wallace at number 13. NASCAR decides to give him a little bit of momentum. He has been kind of trending in the right direction as of late. So he goes up 3 spots from the last power rankings. Um, and yeah, so looking good for him. I know we've been kind of more fans of Bubba than NASCAR this season. Like I think we've been like understanding he's been having pretty like at least a more consistent season than we've been accustomed to, seeing him do. Um, but Gateway, not one of his best tracks, so could slide down. What are the odds saying there? Oh, sorry, beer crack.
No, Bubba Wallace, he's sitting at 40-1 odds this week, so they're not giving him the best.
Nope.
Yeah, as you were saying, I feel like you and I have given Bubba Wallace a little bit more love this season than NASCAR has. I see Bubba Wallace, you haven't really heard of him much in the last maybe 2 weeks to a month.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he started the season off really strong, and for some reason he kind of just like slowly started falling back a little bit. Still, I mean, he's still up there, top 10, maybe top 15. That's kind of what I've been seeing from Bubba. He's been competing for the top 10 this last month, so. But 40-1 odds, that's, I mean, like you said, not one of his best tracks, so makes sense.
Yep. All right, well, let's keep chugging along and go up to number 12. With that number 12 car, Ryan Blaney drops down one more spot to his season low. Now, I know I've been, giving Ryan Blaney a hard time, as we always do. It's just so easy to do with Ryan, even though he's the defending champion, but it just seems to be easy to do. Back-to-back points races. So if we throw it back to Darlington, wrecking out, he finished last in this race or that race, and then he finished second to last in this race. So I don't know. Usually even NASCAR gives them a little bit more of a drop than just one spot, but I think it's still fair at number 12. Like, it's not like Ryan Blaney's terrible. It's not like he has been absolutely terrible this year, but it's definitely not been it's almost like, if you were to talk about like rookies in basketball or football or something, it just feels like that sophomore slump, even though it's not a slump. It's just that slump after his championship year, I guess. He's not doing what Ryan Blaney does.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like NASCAR's been giving him a lot of love this year. I feel like it's really only because he is the defending champion. I haven't really seen him compete all that much for wins or top fives or stuff like that. You know what I mean? This year, it's kind of back to good old Ryan Blaney. Where he competes for a top 10 or he wrecks out of the race. One of those two. This week he's looking at 17-2 odds this week for this race. I feel
That's
like
pretty good. Pretty strong.
I feel like it's pretty good. I feel like it's pretty good for Blaney. He's just NASCAR's had him as the number one Ford pretty much all season long. And now they're finally starting to become I don't know. I mean, they're finally starting to show love to RFK.
Slowly, realizing what's actually happening on the track, or I guess whatever. Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully for our buddy TJ's wife Krista, Blaney kind of turns it around, and he's got some good odds. And like I said, he was the one that challenged Kyle Busch the most last year at Gateway, so. Hopefully he has a little bit of pace, but not too much, because that 8 car needs a win. The thing is too, so I think what kind of keeps my stress up about NASCAR still is that, sorry to bring it back to Kyle Busch, I throw it back to our other podcast with Feist, where he always brings up LeBron or the Cowboys. I got to bring up some Kyle Busch news, but he has 20 straight consecutive seasons with at least one win, and that's kind of the main thing. He even talked about that too. I just want him to have that one win. It's not even as much about the playoffs. I think he's probably won his championships, and he's going to be a 2-time championship, and he should be proud of that. There's not a lot of those in NASCAR, but just need that one win, keep that streak alive. So hopefully Blaney doesn't do too good, but let's move on from that 12th spot. Let's move up to number 11, and I'll even just let you take on from here, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Chastain. I think 11's fair for him. I hate seeing him outside of the top 10, but he hasn't had the best month of racing, I'd say. Um,
He did finally get his top
he
10
did finally get a top 10, and he's
in a
still
rain
top 10
shortened
in points.
race. So does it count? Or no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just
All right, put
kidding.
an
But yeah, he
asterisk
got
next to Christopher Bell too.
it. Yep, right.
But yeah, he's still top 10 in points. Finally gets his top 10 after a long hard month of just it's a mix of bad luck and poor racing, I'd say.
Well,
Um,
but he's still finding a way to, keep it keep that car on the track, keep it relevant where
yeah,
he's not getting the finishes like at Kansas, he had a dominant ride, he didn't get the finish, but he just he's not doing anything terrible, but he's not doing anything great, right? Kind of what we've been talking about this like whole time. Like it's just been Ross
yeah,
Chastain's season so far. So
yeah.
how's this race looking for him? Or sorry, unless you had anything else to say on him.
No, I pretty much had to say what I had to say about him. It's pretty self-explanatory. I feel like for Ross Chastain this season, um, he's looking at 20 to 1 odds this week. So,
Okay.
kind of falling out a little bit in the odds. I mean,
Not
I haven't
terrible, but
really,
not great.
I haven't really seen him be the best short track racer. He's
That
good
was
on
my
road
next
courses.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is his short track? Because you'd probably know better than me how he's been performing. Not great, right?
No, he get a top 15 stuff like that maybe, but
Yeah.
just top 10. I haven't really. I guess I haven't paid too close of attention to when he's racing short tracks, but it's usually a top 15. So
Yep. All right. Well, let's roll on into the top 10. Our previous winner, Christopher Bell, gets a lot of love. Surprise, surprise from NASCAR's Power Rankings. He goes up 5 spots from 15 to 10. And I understand you can make the argument that he only won this race because it was rain shortened, which is definitely true. However, in watching that race, I think you could agree that he was, you could argue, definitely the most dominant car. He did lead the most laps to that, to the point of where they finished it. So I'm going to give him credit. I like Christopher Bell. I know he's a good race car driver. It hasn't been the season that he's wanted, but and I know now he's a two-time winner, so I think it'll look better than it is, but I still think he deserves some credit, and it could certainly, give him some momentum into the second part of the season to finish strong.
yeah, Christopher Bell. He's just like you said. He's got his 2 wins on the season, um, and that's really the only part of his seasons that I've noticed. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
It's
It's a good point.
just his 2 wins. He's coming into this week with 10 to 1 odds to win this race. So he's got
I
some
think,
pretty decent odds, and I think they're giving him a lot of love because of last week. Um,
yeah.
Granted, rain delay, but his name still goes as winner.
Right.
So I think they're just giving him a little bit of love, just like NASCAR gave him 5 spots. So
Yeah. And now that might be our best. I know I'm not the best with odds, but I think yeah, so Logano had 14 to 1, and then Blaney had 17 to 2, which is better than 9 to 1, I would assume. Because if it was 18 to 2, that'd be 9 to 1. So it's
mhm.
between 8 to 1 and 9 to 1. So that's the second best odds we got so far. So might be someone to look at, but maybe too much love, like you say. So we'll have to check on that. Moving on to number 9, we'll go to Alex Bowman, who drops down 1 spot from last week. And it just, we kind of talk about it like we have all season. Like, you do not think that Alex Bowman has been a top 10 driver. Like, you
Yeah,
just don't hear his name. You don't see him in the contention for the win very much. He's had definitely an interesting season where he, like I said, hasn't been that top guy, but he has 8 top 10s, which leads uh, the field in top 10s this year, and even had his worst finish at the Coke 600 since mid-April, but it was still a top 10. So he's somehow found a way to just stick in there and get consistent finishes. So I think it's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're consistently getting a top 10 finish, especially being, one of the most with a top 10 finishes this season, you definitely deserve a little bit of love in the power rankings. I think
Yep.
might be the only driver that NASCAR is really looking at the whole season and saying, okay, you deserve a top 10 in the power rankings off of your season as a whole.
That's a good point. That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
Although not looking too hot this week in the odds. He's
Really?
looking at 40. He's looking at 40-1 in the odds this week.
Whew. That's quite
So
the outlier for even what we've been talking about. And I would assume the top 10, we're not going to see
oh
many
yeah,
of those odds. So
no,
that's quite interesting. Well, let's move on up to number 8, which was Ty Gibbs, our pole sitter for the Coke 600. He drops down one spot. I know he got into it with Tyler Reddick there towards the end of the race. I think a good spot for him, though. I know we've kind of both quietly been rooting for him this year,
yeah,
just to feel like he's got to get that win. He's been a much better, I think, better driver in both like scenarios as far as just skill wise, and then just how he races. Because he, especially in the Xfinity series, he was a dick, right? He's running everybody off
yeah.
the track and whatnot, and he's been doing really good this season. I know him and Reddick bumped, but I wouldn't give any blame to anybody on that. So I think it's a fair spot for him. What about you?
No, I think it's fair. I think he's had every week I say this, but I think he's had a strong ride all season. I I don't see anything against giving him a number 8 spot. I mean, maybe you could move Bowman above him, just with Bowman's top 10 finishes this year.
But
That,
but Ty Gibbs has had more. I have to look at top fives, but at least just stronger runs where he's been closer to a win, right?
yeah, yeah,
I
and
would
that's what
say.
I'm saying. Like, whereas Ty Gibbs has had a stronger car than Bowman all year,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Sorry,
granted, the top 5 finishes and stuff like that. But yeah,
my
um,
bad.
he's look. Oh, you're fine. He's looking at okay. He's looking at 12-1 odds this week coming into this race.
Ooh,
So they've got him. They've got him sitting pretty for this race.
dude, I swear those odds, especially with me and you every week, you just see those odds at Ty Gibbs, and I don't know if you feel the way I feel, but it's like, I want to take that guy. I feel like
Yeah.
we want to be the one that picks him when he does win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it'll
Yep.
be kind of surprising. But let's move on to number 7. Again, shout out TJ. Sorry that we had some technical difficulties with him, but it would be, I guess, what he was telling us earlier before the podcast. His new driver, he might be switching drivers again back to his old driver now that he broke his 110 winless streak. But
hmm
nice to be a fan of Logano during that streak. That must have been convenient. But anyways, Brad Keselowski. I won't even make you take over, okay? I think the fans know I'm not a fan of Brad Keselowski, and I think that's fair. Keselowski and Kyle Busch hate each other, okay? Keselowski literally went on the mic, called Kyle Busch an ass. Like, they don't like each other. But have to, have some integrity and say that he has been having a really good season. He's up to number 7 in NASCAR's power rankings, up 2 spots. And I know TJ was talking about his stats. He has some really good stats. He's on a very, very good hot streak. So he's got a win and then 4 top 2 finishes in the last 6 races. So not
Yep.
top 5s, top 2. So he's finished obviously first once and then 3 second place. That's probably the hottest driver in the field right now.
Yeah, I would say so. I've been giving Brad Keselowski love all season though. So him and Busher, they both had strong rides all season. I don't know what RFK did in the off season to improve, but they definitely have. And like I said the last time we were on the pod, I definitely think that RFK is growing to be better than Penske, especially this season.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like at this point we can say that they're the best Ford team, at least
yeah,
this season, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so. They got the
Um,
win. They got the only Ford win, right? Yeah. Well,
yeah, I
All
believe.
Star race with
No,
Logano,
yeah,
but
with Pagano, but I don't
yeah.
give a shit about that.
Nobody does.
um,
Nobody does.
but Brad coming into this week, he's got 12-1 odds, so he's looking pretty good coming into this week. I think they're coming off of that hot streak that he's been having these last few races, and I think they're showing him a little bit of love there in the odds.
I was gonna say because even during this hot streak, I feel like we've been seeing 40 to 1 odds, 30 to 1
Yeah.
odds. Like he hasn't been getting the love, so maybe he finally
Hmm.
is. Well, let's move on up to our fan favorite Chase Elliott, who stays at number 6. Can't really argue too much. I might have a little bit of a different opinion on this. We'll get into that later, but it's not like it's a terrible spot for him. I feel like these top 6 will say, I think all our fans probably know about who they are at this point. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue too much with it, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the top six is the top six. They're going to be there. I think at this point they've kind of solidified their spot, kind of all season. I think maybe at some point you might be able to switch Brad and Chase, maybe, but that would be my only thing against it.
Don't give
So,
it up now. Don't give it up. I'm just kidding.
um, yeah, no. Chase Elliott coming into this week, he's at 16-1 odds. Not terrible, not the best we've seen from the top, or yeah, not the best that we've seen from the top 10 so far in the power rankings.
Yeah, I think that's only Bowman is lower than him. So yeah, not the best, but it's not like it's terrible.
No.
So well, let's move on to number 5. Again, no change here. Tyler Reddick, and not much to say about that. I mean, he's been having. I know we've already talked about it. Especially I've been a Tyler Reddick fan. I think that it's fair though. Like he's had great races, but he's also had some terrible races. So I wouldn't put him above the top 4. But how are his odds looking this week, or do you think that's a fair spot for him as well?
No, I think it's a fair spot for Tyler Reddick. I mean, he hasn't really shown anything to tell me that he's going to be better than the top four all season. I think he'll probably sit right there at 5, unless something might happen a little bit later.
Yeah.
Um, to maybe move him up a few spots, but I think right now, as of this season so far, number 5 is a pretty solidified spot for Tyler Reddick. He's looking at 12-1 odds coming into this race, so
Okay.
pretty good odds. Pretty good odds coming into this race. So
Okay. Sounds good. Well, let's move on to number 4. Again, no change. Martin Truex Jr., the guy that we keep talking about, the most dominant winless driver. You got all these wins behind him that you could say he's definitely better than. So I don't disagree with this either. Obviously, the top 3 is the top 3, especially.
yeah.
What you thinking, and how's he looking for this week?
So his odds coming in this week 17-2.
Another
Not
good
much to
one.
say on Truex. So not much to say there. I think he's good there at 4. So
All right, well, we'll go to 3, which is William Byron. Again, probably the same thing we've been saying for a while. Obviously, he does have those 3 wins, but he hasn't been quite as dominant as the top 2. Definitely not as consistent. So, I think you'd probably say the same thing. And then, how's he looking for this week? Probably some more good
he's got
odds.
he's got the same odds as Truex. So 17-2. So pretty good
Okay.
odds this week. Pretty good odds this week in this race. Yeah, not much to say on Byron. A little less
Okay.
consistent
Well,
than the top 2. So that's pretty
right.
much all you can say.
Well, let's move on to 2 and 1, where we do have a little bit of uh, drama, I guess. Let's say so. Larson drops down a spot, and it honestly, in reading the NASCAR article, it kind of sounded like they were just saying, "Yeah, he didn't race last week, so we're going to drop him down a spot," which I don't think should count. Um, but yeah, NASCAR has Kyle Larson at number 2. How's he looking for this race?
He's coming in with the highest odds for this race. Of
Oh,
course.
no way. No way.
He's coming in at 6-1. So
Good Lord.
You
Fuck.
know, I mean, I feel like you
I
really
mean,
could put Larson or Hamlin at one. I don't think that there's really any drama there. You can put either one of them any week there at 1 and 2. So
but dropping him just because he missed I don't think you should count this race. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't even get on the track. And obviously, if he was, I think we all know he would have done even better than Allgaier for sure.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, yeah, Hamlin up one. Nothing surprising there. How about his odds? What are they saying?
His odds are looking at 11-2.
So that might
So
be second
I
best, I
think
think. Yeah,
it's yeah, eh,
second best.
yeah,
Because
second
what? It would
best.
be
Yeah,
12 to 2. 12 to. Wait, hold on. 12 to.
no.
Let's do some math. 12 to 2 is 6 to 1, right? So
Mhm.
that's even better. So he's
Yeah,
the favorite.
Hammond's got the best
Okay.
odds. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, let's move into Kyle's power rankings. The real power rankings, as we all know. So I'm gonna stick with Kyle Larson at number one. I talked about it last week. Once he finishes races, I'll give him the nod and all that, and he has. And I think you still can't argue that he's not the most dominant racer in the field right now. And so I'm gonna stick him at one. I'm not gonna care. This race doesn't count. Mother Nature had more effect than any racer on either race this week. So I'm going to leave Larson at one, Denny at two, and then the rest of the top five stay the same. Byron, Truex, Reddick makes sense. Now I wish TJ was here to hear this so he could give me a little bit of credit, but I'm going to give Brad Keselowski the nod at number six because yeah, four top twos in the last six races, that's dominance. That's a good body of work that you're showing that you have a strong car. And I think that's a little bit better than Chase Elliott, where Chase Elliott has been consistent, like I think we talked about last time. He's got top 20 finishes all across the board. I don't remember where he finished this last race, but I would assume in the top 20. So good for him, but I'm going to give Brad the nod there. So I'll give Brad six, Chase Elliott seven, Ty Gibbs eight, Bowman nine, all pretty much the same. But then I'm going to go Busher at 10. I think I'm going to keep him there. I think he's been stronger than the guys below him. And I'm not going to drop him down five spots for one bad race, maybe, and one race he got wrecked out of. So I'll just stop there at the top 10 for a second. What do you think about my top 10 versus NASCAR's? You got any opinions on that? Differences or?
No, and I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, I think you can swap Brad and Chase.
Yep,
Brad.
that's what I was saying. Don't give it up. Don't give it up. Yeah, because that's exactly what I did. Yeah. Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna argue with the top 10. I think Chris Buescher deserves to be in the top 10 along with Keselowski. They've both been pretty dominant this year for RFK, so I got nothing against it.
Cool. Well, I'll get into the rest of it. I'll give Christopher Bell a big bump. I think with I think he was going to be dominant for the race and very well could have won it at the Coke 600 had it gone the full length. But I'll give Christopher Bell number 11, and then I'm going to stick with Ross Chastain above Blaney, which I feel like been doing for a few weeks now at 12. I'll give Blaney 13. I'll give Kyle 14. I think he's been a tad more consistent than number 15, Bubba Wallace. And then I think maybe a little bit of fandom of Noah Gragson is seeping in, but I still think he's had a stronger overall season than the guys below him. I'll go Noah Gragson at 16, Chase Briscoe 17, Joey Logano 18, Suarez at 19, Josh Berry at 20. Anything
Yeah.
crazy about those, or what do you think?
I mean, really, the only one that I'll disagree with is the Bubba Wallace Kyle Busch. I think those two should swap.
You want to
Just
swap
because
him
I
up to
feel,
14 and Kyle to 15?
yeah, just because I feel like Bubba's had a stronger vehicle all season. You
Yeah.
know, Kyle Busch hasn't. You know, he really hasn't. Like I said, I mean, he'll fight for the top 10 in stage one and stage two of every race, but then he falls off in stage three and usually gets back there to 15 to 20. And that seems like where it's kind of sat for him. So I feel like that's the only switch I would make is probably Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace.
Okay, sounds good to me. Well, let's finish it off with some good pick'em standings, and then some picks for the race. Now, hopefully TJ's doing okay, and if we need to adjust it, we'll adjust it. We'll be fair, okay? But I think he gave a strong indication on his picks anyway, so I don't think it's going to be too big of an argument. But let's update the standings. Wesley, you're still sitting pretty at 22 in the lead. I'm 4 points back at 18, and then TJ's 4 points back of me at 14. So got a little bit of good gaps there. And then I can't remember, Wesley, we'll figure this out on the fly, but we go off of the last week that we picked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the season.
Yep. Not
now, we didn't pick for the Coke 600, and we didn't pick for the All-Star race, right? Because we didn't really count it. So would it be Darlington was the last race that we picked for? Does that sound right to you?
Yes, I believe so.
I think that's right. Okay, let's look. I'm going to scroll through our notes here and try to find it. Okay, here we go. Darlington picks. Yes, TJ won. Because he had Brad Keselowski. Probably have the same three, I'll say, that he had that week. I lost. I got 1 point because I remember Kyle Larson, I think Truex wrecked out that race. You got second place. So that would mean you would have to agree that I get the first pick this week?
Yep.
Okay. I will. What we got? So Denny Hamlin and Larson are the favorites. Shit. I guess I'll go Kyle Larson. I guess I'll take Kyle Larson.
You know I pick him every week. Come on, bud.
Sorry, it's something about the name. I don't know what it is, but.
And I'm definitely. I mean, Denny Hamlin is my biggest hated driver, so I'll never root for Denny Hamlin. So I think I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick this week.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. And then I think it'd be fair to say that TJ wants to take. What are the best odds? I feel like Brad Keselowski. He would take probably.
Yeah, okay, most likely.
We'll give him Brad. Okay. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and take Denny Hamlin as my number 2 pick. I don't think TJ would take Denny Hamlin, so I think that's a fair thing to do.
Yeah, he's probably sitting in the same boat as me.
Exactly. I'm not too proud to just at least take him for my pick'em. So, okay, who you got for number 2 on your picks?
I think I'm gonna go with Ty Gibbs.
Ooh, going with the ties, huh? Okay, all right. Let's try to look at the odds again. Let's try to be fair. So, William Byron's got 17-2. So does Martin Truex. You got Tyler Reddick. Chase Elliott's got 16-1. And then Bell's got 10-1. Blaney's got 17-2. Butcher has 18-1. And then Logano has 14-1. I'm thinking that TJ's going to stick with those at least RFK Fords. If not, is he going to go Logano? What do we think there?
I'd stick him with the best odds, I feel.
Just and best odds overall?
Yeah, and then I feel like
if he wants to change, we'll let him change.
We pick, yeah.
So just go best odds overall that we have left?
Yeah, so that's either Truex or Byron.
He hates Byron, right? So I guess maybe Truex. We'll give him Truex for now.
That works. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's make sure we type that in. I'm sure he'll change it. He probably wants Chris Buescher. I'm gonna assume he wants.
I'm assuming he does, but just give him the best odds.
Just so I don't have him. Well, Wesley, I wasn't going to pick him anyways. Okay? Because I had this pick predetermined. I thought he would make it this far. And if I'm going to do it any race, I'm going to do it this race. Kyle fucking Busch is my third pick, baby. Got to write that back-to-back win. At least pick him once this year. So I'm
Yeah,
going to go with
got to
Kyle
pick him
Busch.
at least once.
Gonna pick Kyle Busch. Hopefully I don't fuck me
um,
over too much because you got a lot of great drivers still left on that board.
I think
I think I know.
I'm going to go. I think I'm going to ride his hot streak. I'll pick Alex Bowman for the points.
Ooh, going along, going for the consistency. Get that top 3 finish, right?
Yep.
I see what you're doing. Okay. So we got one more pick for TJ. Still got Byron on the board with some good odds. Should we give him Byron, or should we assume he wants Busher and or Logano?
Let's throw Byron just because he's got the best odds, and then if he wants to change them, both those drivers are open anyway.
Right. I don't think
So,
you may. I wasn't going to pick Truex. I don't know if you were,
well, I
but
thought about it, but I mean, it's no big deal for me. I still got
Byron.
3 guys in the top 10 power rankings, so.
Nice. All right. Well, I know I'm very excited for Gateway. Like I said, I hope that Kyle Busch shows some strength, shows some speed, and hopefully gets a win. That would be awesome. Like I said, I just want that one win a season, keep that streak alive. But it's been awesome. Thank you for sticking with us through all the technical difficulties. Hope TJ's doing okay. Wesley, you did pretty good this week on technical
I
difficulties. So
know. I
too
know.
bad we don't have Feist here from our other show to give you a little claps, but I'll just do it for you. And I'll just send you guys off. Make sure. I think maybe let's post these pics onto Instagram before the race, and we'll see how the fans think, and we'll kind of see if they think maybe we missed on a driver because there's a lot of good drivers out there with some good odds. So we'll make sure to
Yep.
post that. Make sure to give us another review and some comments, some likes, and everything that you can. And then we will see you next week. And I'll just end it with this. See ya.